an interesting few days. Hadn't it? Hadn't it? Hey guys, this is Julez with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what's going on with the JLR in Magnolia Christmas Day DV situation that we have recently learned about when we saw protective order information, court documentation, and police reports start going around on social media. If you missed the first video that I did on this, where we did go through a full read through of the police report and look at the court documents themselves, it looks like this, and there will be a link for it down in the description box. Now, this morning, when we were going over some of the Idaho 4 body cam, we also did an update because Magnolia came out on Twitter and made a statement. I wanted to acknowledge that I'm obviously aware that the Chelan County DV police report from Christmas Day and my protection order case have come to light. The New York Post reached out to me yesterday and I answered some of the questions they had for the story they were working on. The police report speaks for itself. This has been extremely traumatizing beyond words, and withdrawing completely felt like the safest way for me to begin the long journey of healing. I've had the support of family, police, doctors, advocates, and my therapist. Being thrown into the role of survivor has been the hardest thing I've ever endured. The impact this has had on my life is immeasurable, and I know it's not something that will ever fully go away. I know the road ahead will be long, but I'm taking it one day and one task at a time. I want to assure everyone that I'm safe now. I did have surgery to repair my nose, and it appears to have been successful, but I won't know for several months if further treatment is needed. I do know I'm very lucky to be alive, and I don't take that for granted. Remember, in the police report, she claimed that she lost consciousness from what he did to her. Because I questioned, why did this happen like around like midnight, 1 something in the morning, but the call didn't happen till 9 o'clock. The cops didn't get there till 10. She says she lost consciousness. And when she was going in and out, she could see him like packing, but that she lost consciousness. So let's keep that in mind too. Rio is also safe and has been with me through everything. He was not harmed aside from being exposed to what happened. I don't intend to rehash this publicly, but I do want to say that I'm incredibly grateful for the support I've received and for the many people who have reached out over these last couple of months out of concern for my well-being. And then she signs it, Magnolia. The police report and the court records already claim that the medical records were taken from that night and admitted to the court. They would have had to have taken x-rays. The doctors would have had to have taken pictures of her wounds. The cops also took pictures of her wounds, and all of those things were submitted to the court. He fled. He took off. They have proof on the phones, what he's saying to her, what he has said to her, the threats that he has said to her. They're not going to go through and grant this protective order if there's not proof that he's doing all of these things. People need to keep that in mind whenever they try to act like this stuff is fake. Now, there's been a side statement made since then. There's also some dispatch audio I'm going to play for you that came out from, I believe, Nerdy Addict, who, by the way, also has a FOIA that was filed on Friday for the actual body cam that is mentioned in the police report. We're also going to read pieces of the New York Post article that came out because in Magnolia's statement, she does say that she answered a few questions for them before they wrote it. So let's just go ahead and get into everything. Okay, so I played you her original statement that I read out loud in the live earlier today. So let's go over the side notes that she posted not long after. I always knew Nerdy Addict was a pretty good journalist, but I was astonished when he somehow figured everything out and broke the story a few days ago. Thank you, Matt Blanc Inc., for giving me the heads up. So Nerdy Addict somehow found this information out. I don't know if he was doing some sort of search for JLR information or what that was all about, but he is the first person that I saw with it. I've also seen people trying to claim that her brother is the one who sent the information over to Nerdy Addict, but what I'm understanding from what he is posting with timestamps, as far as I can tell, the brother reached out to him after the story was already out there. So there's that. Let's continue. I had hoped to tell my story on my own terms one day, but Nerdy beat me to it. My hat is off to you, sir. As blindsided as I was, I have to say I was impressed. You are very thorough. And then there's that emoji. I disabled this app back in January doing the acute shock phase, and that's where I never changed my profile, working on it now. Interesting choice of words, I will admit, but if you do look, she has now changed it to Magnolia X Rio and changed the picture, changed the backdrop, all of the things. They changed the DM part of this app since then, so if you're someone who has DM'd me since then, I haven't seen it yet. I am not ashamed of my time at Project Veritas. Yeah, in case you guys didn't know that, she did actually work with Project Veritas for some time, and I never will be. I love my PV family, and I always will. One outlandish failed operation over years of great work is part of the job as an undercover journalist. Over the last month, I've been looking on starting my own business, and I'll have more to say on that later. Okay, so now let's go ahead and read through the article that the New York Post put out about the situation. This article came out on March 20th, 2026, around 4:12 p.m. Eastern Time, and it looks like a girl named Megan and a guy named Andy worked together in order to put this together. You can see the headline. It basically matches perfectly to the police report and the information that we've read from official documents so far. True crime YouTube star Jonathan Lee Riches, aka JLR Investigates, is accused of brutally and threatening to a former girlfriend, she claims in court documents. Yeah, I do need to use YouTubeese in this because I be damned if YouTube try to do anything to my channel because of words that other entities can use freely, and we all know that that's what happens. So just bear with me, okay? Complain to YouTube, please, not here in the comments. In a sworn petition filed in Arkansas, Jamie Phillips claims Riches, 49, carried out a violent attack on Christmas Eve 2025, capping what she described to be a years-long that included him repeatedly, okay? Pretty positive, if I remember correctly, the police report has her claiming like 24 times. Either that or it's the actual protective order letter that you write on the form. That thing, I'm pretty sure that's what it said 24 times. The filing obtained by the Post alleges Riches, a convicted felon who spent 10 years in federal prison over a credit card fraud scheme, was in a relationship with Phillips beginning early 2023 that spiraled into a persistent and escalating pattern of DV, coercive control, intimidation, and financial exploitation on top of physical violence. Yeah, she even claims that whatever joint account they had, that he removed all the money from it so she couldn't access it. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in every story, but one that has been a constant is do not get a joint account. Not even when married. Do not do it. If you think you need to, make it for the bills only and only deposit what's necessary for the bills to be paid. Do not have joint savings. Do not do that. Just do not do that. Now, this picture right here is interesting because it was posted on her Twitter account Christmas Day. Now, right here, I had an entire thing because the timing for this posting was 1:41 in the morning on Christmas Day. So since we're being told in the police report he took her phone, she lost consciousness, I was sort of convinced at that point there was a huge possibility that he had posted that on her social media to seem like nothing was wrong and had done so because he had her phone and took off with it. I'm glad that I went to Twitter to see if there was any updates and she'd said anything else because she actually went ahead and answered that question by admitting that she was the one that posted it. And her stating in her comment that it was at 11:41 p.m., the local time where they were in Washington at the time, tracks to the time zone difference between me here in Texas and over there where they were, because it's a 2-hour difference. And it tells me that at 1:41 a.m. my time, it's 11:41 p.m. there. So it was posted before everything went stupid. According to a handwritten affidavit, the alleged December 24th assault left Phillips with extreme injuries, including a broken nose and septum, significant trauma to my head and ribs, requiring emergency medical care, CT scans, and x-rays, and that she will need reconstructive surgery. And as we've read, she's had the surgery, and they don't know if there's going to be more needed or anything just yet. Phillips claims Riches assaulted her on multiple occasions, her with a closed fist in a separate alleged August 2025 attack, her roughly 24 times and threatened to, if she reported him, the filing alleges. And again, this information is also in the information presented to the court for the protective order that's now been agreed to that will be finalized on April 21st. Keep all of that in mind. She also alleges ongoing harassment after the Christmas incident, which took place in Washington state, including threats, intimidation, and financial abuse. Again, a lot of people are questioning why he hasn't been arrested. The answer is in the police report. By the time the cops got there, he was not at the scene. They never found him before he actually got out of the state. Obviously, some hours had gone by. And until he actually gets back into the jurisdiction that can arrest him, this is all he has to deal with, is a PO in Arkansas that gets sent to his house and that he gets served with in Florida. And he can basically go and do whatever he wants to everywhere but Washington. That's basically all that's going to happen here, unfortunately. Unless something else shakes. Because who knows what could happen, but okay. On January 21st, 2026, the court issued an order of protection, finding there was sufficient evidence Phillips faced an immediate and present danger of a DV situation. Riches has not responded to the allegations, and he and his lawyer did not return the Post's request for comment. Chelan County Sheriff's Office in Washington sent the Post an incident report, which says they had probable cause to arrest Riches, but he had left the state. Exactly. That's the only freaking reason why he was not arrested and put behind bars. He has not formally been charged in relation to the incident, and no warrant appears to have been issued for his arrest because they can't take him there for court. She has to do her thing over there. She wasn't a Washington resident, so they really can't do much at all. Phillips herself has a colorful past. Yes, we have been hearing a lot about this recently, having been accused in 2017 of fabricating a story about being impregnated by Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore as a teenager, which she tried to get the Washington Post to run. Phillips told the Post, "I was duped for so long. He portrayed himself as if he had changed and turned his life around, but that's not real. He's the same way he's been. He's a fraud." Okay, well, they just jumped right down to like the rest of the article, but let's go ahead and stop and look at the link that they left. Now, right off the bat, the title is grammatically incorrect, and I had to start over this little segment, starting the title like 3 times because I kept saying it wrong and thinking it was my fault when indeed it was theirs. It says, a woman approached the Post with dramatic and false tale about Roy Moore. It should say a dramatic and false tale. It effed me up for about 35 seconds that I'll never get back, but let's continue. She appears to be part of undercover. Again, the A is missing. She appears to be part of undercover sting operation. I know again that she worked with Project VERITAS, so is this going to insinuate that these accusations came from her investigation into him? Now, before I read further, I want to see what this says. A woman who falsely claimed to the Washington Post that Roy Moore impregnated her as a teenager appears to work with an organization that uses deceptive tactics to secretly record conversations with journalists in an effort to embarrass them. In a series of interviews over 2 weeks, the woman shared a dramatic story about an alleged relationship with Moore in 1992. I was like 4 years old, bro. Oh my God. That led to that, and she was 15 at the time in the story that she was telling. During the interviews, she repeatedly pressed Post reporters to give their opinions on the effects that her claims could have on Moore's candidacy if she went public. The Post did not publish an article based on her unsubstantiated account. When Post reporters confronted her with inconsistencies in her story and an internet posting that raised doubts about her motivations, she insisted that she was not working with any organizations that targets journalists. But on Monday morning, Post reporters saw her walking into the New York Post offices of Project VERITAS, an organization that targets the mainstream news media and left-leaning groups. The organization sets an undercover sting that involve using fake cover stories and covert video recordings meant to expose what the group says is media bias. James O'Keefe, the founder of Project Veritas, who was convicted of a misdemeanor in 2010 for using a fake identity to enter a federal building during a previous sting, declined to answer questions about the woman outside the organization's offices on Monday morning, shortly after the woman walked inside. I am not doing an interview right now, so I'm not going to say a word. It was his response. In a follow-up interview, O'Keefe declined to answer repeated questions about whether the woman was employed at Project Veritas. He also did not respond when asked if he was working with Moore, former White House advisor, and Moore supporter Stephen K. Bannon, or Republican strategist. The group's efforts illustrate the lengths to which activists have gone to try to discredit media outlets for reporting on allegations from multiple women that Moore pursued them when they were teenagers and he was in his early 30s. Moore has denied that he did anything improper. A spokesman for Moore's campaign did not respond to a message-seeking comment. The woman who approached Post reporters, Jamie Phillips, did not respond to calls to her cell phone later Monday. Her car remained in the Project Veritas parking lot for more than an hour. The Post positioned video reporters outside the group's office in Mamaroneck, New York, after determining that Phillip lives in Stamford, Connecticut, and realizing that the two locations were just 16 miles apart. Two reporters followed her from her home as she drove to the office. After Phillip was observed entering the Project Veritas office, the Post made the unusual decision to report her previous off-the-record comments. Okay, so I've actually removed about 16 minutes worth of raw footage from this section right here because I continue to read the article. But as I'm editing, I'm listening to it a little slower and I'm realizing exactly what was happening here, at least in my opinion. And of course, I will give you the website in order to go and get this article. The Washington Post has you put in your email in order for you to read the article itself, but you know, plenty of you probably have throwaway emails, so whatever. Anyway, this is how I've come to understand this. The Washington Post was, I guess, a target of what Project Veritas was trying to prove, which is that the mainstream media will just take someone's word of mouth with no proof, no police reports, no medical records, no signed affidavits, no nothing at all to back it up, and run with the story if they think it'll get good ratings. And it seems like the Washington Post people were mad that they were a target, so they ran with what Magnolia at the time was telling them as, oh, she was trying to trick us. It almost seems, honestly, that if they weren't butthurt about being a target of Project Veritas, then the so-say allegations against this Roy Moore guy would have never really come to light because it was a false story. And again, Project Veritas seemed to have been trying to see if the Washington Post would just run with something with no substance, no receipts, no legs to stand on, nothing of proof besides someone coming in and giving an emotional story. And they're mad because they didn't want to be a target. They are the reason, it seems again, like these rumors and allegations even got out to the public. Their own ego is what it seems like here. That's what I feel was the situation here. But again, you're entitled to your own opinion. Just make sure that you're basing it off of the truth and not, again, what the mainstream media is trying to tell you. Because that last sentence that I just read before I edited myself in here, let me go ahead and replay that real quick. After Phillip was observed entering the Project Veritas office, the Post made the unusual decision to report her previous off-the-record comments. This just epiphany to me, exactly what I just stated. None of this would have come public if the Washington Post's ego didn't put it out there thinking they were doing something special. Let's go ahead and just get right back to the New York Post article. Phillips told the Post, "I was duped for so long. He portrayed himself as if he had changed and turned his life around, but that's not real. He's the same way he's always been. He's a fraud. I mean, we've seen how he's done things. We've seen how he has said things. We see how he has dealt with situations. And I will say again, this is someone that Steve Consalvis allowed into his home with his family. the father of Kaylee Consalvis, one of the victims in the 1122 King Road homicide case. This man took a picture with JLR with his arm around his neck like they were besties. And this was after JLR came out and said that Kaylee and Maddie were selling themselves for money. There's no proof of that. So this kind of thing, no, he hasn't changed at all. He just does what he needs to do and tries to make the focus everything else that he's talking about so that people don't know who he really is. This is what manipulating fraudsters and narcissistic a-holes do. And they're good at it. Look how many people he's fooled. Let's be so serious. The only thing he cares about is money. He doesn't care about the cases. He loves when there's a mass shooting. He gets excited because he knows he'll get a lot of views and a lot of money. And remember what he did. He impersonated being the family member to the Sandy Hook shooter so that he could get special attention. This is who this man is. People need to stop pretending like this is coming from nowhere. And the question really should be, how many more are there? Because there's no way in hell this is the first person he's put his hands on like this. When he left her unconscious as he was packing his bags and getting out of Dodge so that he was way gone before the cops got there, he took her phone. Riches reinvented himself as JLR Investigates, a YouTube channel which has grown to more than 500,000 subs around 3 years ago after a lifetime of frauds, fakeries, and manipulation. He describes himself as a fearless investigator and inserts himself into high-profile investigations to live stream. He mostly has been broadcasting in Tucson, Arizona, outside the house of missing Nancy Guthrie. Something that literally makes me giggly inside is when people say that he's been so great in the Nancy Guthrie case. What has he done? He has been sitting in the neighborhood, getting in people's ways, being a little nosy Nancy, getting all the little gossipy Glindas to come in here and just chit chat with him while he has people in his chat deliver things to the crime scene, cause confusion. He goes and sits in a neighborhood while the SWAT team's doing all these other things. He has not done anything besides give you something to be entertained by. Do not misinterpret you having something to entertain yourself with while you're eating dinner or trying to go to bed with somebody being great at their job. He's not doing anything. He's not answering any questions. He's not figuring anything out. He's sitting there giving you something to engage with. That's it. Jerry Springer did it better. He's basically a big celebrity in the true crime community. Fellow true crime streamer Alina Smith. That is one of the psychos, or shall I say the psycho, because she got kicked out of the group in the Idaho 4 Facebook groups that did too much. She got kicked out of the group for doing too much. She's one of two people from that Facebook group of the Idaho 4 case that came out with the "what did you say to Adam" footage. That's who that person is. If you've seen the things that she's been out here doing and saying, and you know why they're no longer friends and why she was no longer part of that group and hasn't been for a long time, of course you're going to get someone like that to talk about this. Wow, okay. Riches has gained a reputation for being one of the most persistent streamers, filming for up to 15 hours a day, responding to questions in real time, and accepting money from viewers to complete tasks such as zooming in on certain parts of a crime scene. He's not answering questions in real time. He's entertaining people that have no clue about the facts and are literally only there for entertainment. The more subscribers he gets, the more profitable his YouTube videos become, regardless of whether the information he reports is fact or fiction. And sadly, fiction wins in these YouTube streets. That's why he was in Tucson for over a month. It's easy money for him because he just sets up a camera and lets it go. Yeah, he doesn't do anything. He's just sitting there being nice to people. He's basically like the dude sitting at a flea market telling people hi as they pass by. I mean, it's literally no different. Other streamers have estimated to the Post that he could make up to $30,000 a week with his persistent boots on the ground approach. Probably so. But his audiences are likely unaware of just how sinister Rich's past is. In 2019, he openly admitted being a troll and fabricating highly sensitive information after he was called out for pretending to be Jewish and giving a fake backstory at a Trump rally. I don't think about the long-term consequences as far as disinformation or offending anyone, Riches told the Huffington Post back in 2019. The disinformation that I want, I can put out there. The next mass that, before they identify the actual person responsible, I can set up 10 Twitter accounts looking like news sites and then create whoever I want as the person. Vulnerable, gullible people will see that and they think it's from a news site and then they will copy it and tweet it out. We see it everywhere. And it's not just on Twitter. People see stuff on Facebook. People see stuff on YouTube. People see stuff on TikTok. They don't do their own research and they just repeat it. Repeat it because it's out there and it's the only thing out there. Yeah. And it's getting worse because AI is just out of hand. So freaking out of hand. Rich's operation has drawn criticism from authorities and journalists alike as he is part of a growing ecosystem of YouTube crime scene streamers who monetize tragedy by broadcasting from active investigations. Now, I don't have a problem with someone going down and getting an actual boots on the ground look of something. Awesome. As a matter of fact, I would prefer it that way. But when you're just hanging out in the neighborhood, being a nuisance, doing absolutely nothing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, what do you think that's accomplishing? Seriously, I want someone down in the comments to make something make sense as to what good that does. However, Rich's notoriety long predates the live stream era, fraud ring, and federal prison. According to federal court records, Riches was indicted in 2003 in the Southern District of Texas alongside several co-defendants for a credit card fraud scheme. The indictment claimed the conspirators used stolen financial data to obtain money and property through the fraudulent transactions. Riches was arrested in Florida in February 2003. I was in high school still, holy shit, and brought to Texas to face the charges, entering a guilty plea to conspiracy and wire fraud counts in September of that year. A federal judge sentenced him to 125 months in prison for wire fraud and 60 months for conspiracy to run concurrently, along with a $92,680 in restitution to victims, according to the criminal docket. Most litigious inmate. While incarcerated, Riches flooded federal courts with thousands of bizarre, frivolous lawsuits targeting politicians, companies, public figures, and celebrities, including one against the Kardashian family for allegedly participating in an Al-Qaeda training. The cases were quickly dismissed. The sheer volume of Rich's lawsuits, estimated at over 4,000, home dude was bored, huh? Ultimately forced federal prosecutors to seek an unprecedented nationwide injunction against him to prevent him from suing. He was also banned from having paper in his cell. So does that mean that he could never file another lawsuit again in his entire life? In response, Riches went on a hunger strike for 22 days, and a warden had to feed him through a tube. Oh my God. Sandy Hook hoax. After being released in 2012, Riches returned to Pennsylvania? Oh, okay. Okay. And this shit with him and her happened in Washington? Interesting. Okay. But almost immediately found himself back in legal trouble. He traveled to Newton, Connecticut 3 days after the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre that left 20 first graders and 6 staff members dead. He attended a memorial where he falsely claimed to be the uncle of gunman Adam Lanza, according to local authorities and court filings. Sick psycho. He said he was Jonathan Lanza and made unsubstantiated claims about the shooter's mental health, which were quickly debunked. What a psychopath. That's like what I think he's like most notorious for, is that right there. 3 days later, Riches posted a YouTube video of the trip in which he attempted to approach Lanza's home before being stopped by a police blockade. We are truth seekers, and we are going to find out why Adam was mind controlled and manipulated to go in and allegedly little kids in Sandy Hook Elementary School and why this happened, Riches said in the clip, as reported by the New Haven Register. A few weeks later, Riches found himself back behind bars for violating the terms of his probation by crossing state lines. From there, his phony lawsuits kept coming. In March 2016, he filed a civil action against Representative Gabrielle Giffords, posing as the man who hurt and killed 6 people several years earlier. So he likes to impersonate freaks, is how I'm hearing this. According to a criminal complaint, he posed as Jared Loeffner, the gunman who tried to assassinate Giffords. The complaint sought $25 million. Riches pleaded guilty to a charge of making false statements, according to court records, and was sentenced to 5 years probation. He later told the Arizona Republic that he filed the fake lawsuit as a joke to entertain himself in prison. Riches was released from federal prison in May 2016, according to the Bureau of Prisons Inmate Locator. However, his headline-grabbing stunts and questionable antics continued to evolve. During Bill Cosby's trial in September 2016, he showed up in court repeatedly, offering the disgraced R-worder Jell-O each time he entered. Weeks later, he surfaced in Florida alongside then Goober National hopeful Andrew Gillum, posing as a Black Lives Matter protester. I don't know who the frick that is. Some of his most audacious acts come from disguising himself as both a Muslim and a Jewish attendee at political events, including rallies for now President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Yeah, there's videos where he's like, I 100% back Trump, I 100% back Hillary, just going back and forth. Like it's all like a social experiment to him to see how people react and what he can get away with. It's disgusting. He confirmed to the Huffington Post he was an atheist from a Christian family and confirmed that at the time he didn't practice any religion. Livestream investigator. In recent years, Riches has attempted to reinvent himself online under the brand JLR Investigates. While he markets himself as a crime scene investigator, chasing the truth behind high-profile cases, critics say his appearances often amount to nothing but exploitation, interference, and the spreading of disinformation. Yeah, bingo. In one such incident, a business card was left on Nancy Guthrie's front door. Riches told his viewers she might have been at the center of an active elder abuse case prior to her disappearance. Okay, well, the story about it showing up after the fact didn't make a lot of sense to anybody. I do remember that portion, and he's also not the one who really started any of that. That was something that was being questioned by, I believe, SF Investigates and quite a few other people once we actually saw what this card was. Now, I don't know if he mentioned any of that on his YouTube stream prior to it sort of going all over the place on Twitter or not, but lots of people were talking about that because why would you leave an APS card on the home of a person that's missing? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It goes on to say the card was from a case manager for Arizona's Adult Protective Services Division, who later confirmed it had dropped by after she was reported missing, so she could contact the agency if she returned home safely. I've never heard of that happening before, but I've also never really dug too far into an elderly person's missing story before. Is that normal? It didn't seem by the response of the internet like that was a normal situation. I'm going to have to look into that myself because I don't know for sure if that's been actually concreted, that it came after the fact, because that's been one of my big questions. A lack of information leads to speculation, Riches told the Republic while live streaming outside Guthrie's home in February. The practice mirrors a growing trend highlighted in recent reporting by The Post about YouTubers who earn thousands of dollars from live streams outside active investigations, broadcasting theories and commentary to viewers. And again, I am all for independent people going out there and getting a look at the scene. But again, when you're sitting out there for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time and you're just becoming a nuisance, you're not doing anything productive. You're not doing anything productive. And that doesn't just go for JLR. It goes for all of them who just camped out there like it was freaking Woodstock. Like, what are you doing? Law enforcement officials and victims advocates have warned the practice can complicate investigations and implicate innocent people and victims, wreaking havoc on their lives. Yet for some top-earning live streamers like Riches, it appears notoriety and infamy can actually work in their favor. Crime Scene Collective co-founder Alina Smith told the Post she had seen fans of Riches fly in from interstate and show up at crime scenes simply for a meet and greet with him. Many of them came bearing gifts, she said. Others simply donate cash to him online. They're obsessed with him, she said. Well, there's also people, women, paying like $1,200 to take a photo with Chris Brown. And we all know what he did to Rihanna. So none of this surprises me. And when you see again the fangirling and the simping that's going on for this person, even with his history, even with the things that he has been so proud as to speak on, even with everything else disgusting that he has done, they still flock to defend this freak. Okay, now I'm going to play a small clip of dispatch audio that was released by Nerdy Addict and Eva on their YouTube channel a few days ago.
Whoever comes to County West Patrol to 11 with a domestic report, call 27 also. 29. 29, she has injury to her nose. We're also going to be sending aid. 29, 924.
I'll be in there, yeah.
29, 930. 5, your status.
45.
45, we're going to come K5, your status.
K5.
K5, 932. K29.
Are you still on the phone with the RP?
No.
Received. And you verify the number in the call is the RP's phone number?
No, it was her boyfriend's. He left it behind, but I did verify what the number was.
Received. We're not getting any answer at the building nor answer on the phone.
Received. I will triple check and try and call back. I'll come K29.
29.
K29 tried to call back that number again for me. There was no answer. But I verified that is the number that it called from, and that's what was plotting on the 911 map as well.
Received. Thank you. We're trying all the different rooms at this point.
939.
341 extra 7.
That's front.
West 2102 Charles George 4887.
K29.
Charles Tom Adams 6791.
K29 956. Overcome K29 Charles Tom Adams 6791 2025 Chief Compass 7 2026 to Hertz Vehicles at a C2.
Okay, you guys, we've gone over the article, we've gone over the statements, we've gone over both sides' histories. So let me know what you guys are thinking about all of this down in the comments. And again, please keep in mind, this protective order was agreed to. There's another court date on April 21st that finalizes this protective order. The police have body cam, injury photos, and medical records that were submitted to the courts. Please keep those things in mind and let me know again what you guys are thinking down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that the notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. And again, thank you Matchmasters for sponsoring today's video. See y'all.